Hello everyone, I am Adrees Malik and Stephanie Bowman with me. She is MPP from Down Valley West and we will talk on Budget 2024 in today's session. Thank you very much for joining me, Stephanie.
A pleasure to be here this morning with you. Thank you.
Stephanie, what do you say about, first of all, according to your constitution situation and you are as a member of Standing Committee on Finance, what's your thoughts, just like initial thoughts on the budget?
Well, basically, never has a government spent so much and delivered so little. This is a record level of spending, and yet we also know we have a record number of crises in this province. Certainly in this riding, we have lots of people, part of the 2.3 million Ontarians who do not have a family doctor. I hear that regularly from my constituents. We have record number of ERs closing. We have hospitals saying that they are bulging at the seams to be able to deliver care because of Bill 124 and the extra money that they have to spend now on agency nurses. So we have record spending, yet we have record crises instead of having outstanding results for the people of Ontario.
So, when you check in the previous budget in 2023, there is like in figures, that's a surplus budget in a figures, like
Right,
just like in
yes.
announcement, but later on it was changed. The similar situation in a 2024, but there is there is a deficit almost of like 3 point,
Almost 10 billion.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, for this current year, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the deficit is projected to be around $4.5 billion. And the government likes to blame everybody else. They like to blame, high interest rates, the bank, blame the Bank of Canada, blame the federal government, and yet they have control over a significant amount of revenues here in this province and a significant amount of spending. So I think they need to start looking in the mirror and really recognizing that they have a major role to play in the finances of this province and that right now they're letting people down.
So Stephanie, as an you are experienced banker, you were a member board of Bank of Canada, and before that, like there's a private bank, you were working for that. On the basis of your experience, do you think like there is a total like a failure of the government, like they are going day by day in a deficit?
Sorry, what was your question? Total
Like
failing?
yeah,
Yeah, so I think that the government is really focused on privatization of our services. So when you think about things like Bill 124, Bill 124 drove a record number of nurses out of the nursing profession. And what that caused was for hospitals to have to hire agency nurses. And they're paying those nurses at 3 times the rate they would have paid them if they were working in the hospital. That's not fiscally responsible. And what that means, in this budget, we see the results. We see that the spending is about $1 billion on agency staffing and nurses, which means that those companies, those private for-profit companies, are getting at least $500 million in profit from taxpayers because they're selling those nursing services or PSW services back to hospitals and long-term care homes. So that's the kind of spending that to me is irresponsible because it's actually not benefiting taxpayers to spend that additional money on the nurses and PSWs. We actually would have at least 2 times more, probably even higher number back in the hospitals working if they were working for the hospitals instead of for these private nursing agencies.
I will move like 2 other things as a provincial taxes on OSAP loans, and students are very concerning, and especially if we see your constituency is there is a number of students are residing here, and as per the stats of the population here, so young people are too much and in the large number. So do you think like there is a need to more work as a representative of these students in Queen's Park? You need to do, have you achieved it or not?
Well, again, as you know, this is a majority conservative government, so my job in opposition is to raise the issues. And certainly in this recent budget debate, I've been talking about the impact of interest for students. This government could have done some relief, provided some relief for students. So I actually did talk about that last week. I'll be talking about the budget again at Queen's Park next week in further debate. But you're right, absolutely. This government is not doing enough for students. students are facing hardships from a rent perspective because, of course, rents are much higher. We know the cost of food is higher, and we had proposed some measures around reducing the portion of interest that the government collects from a provincial standpoint on students. They didn't take that recommendation.
When we talk about the housing crisis, that's a major topic, everywhere, and definitely in this Toronto area, in the Don Valley West, the housing is a biggest issue for the residents. So, what do you thought, like, how you can resolve this? Like, if in upcoming days, Liberals are going to like take Ontario as a premiership, and you are very close to Bonnie, and you are a friend to her, and you are contesting our next premier for a Bonnie. So, what's your plans to meet those things?
Yes, so we've developed a very robust housing platform and with our critic for housing, Dr. Adil Shamji, and under Bonnie's leadership, and so we're very proud of that. We think that actually will make a significant dent in the supply of affordable housing for people. Right now we have a premier who's saying that fourplexes destroy communities. That's just not true. There are wonderful communities around this province, including in Lambton, Kent, Middlesex, where we're having a by-election, that have fourplexes. And so to say that those communities are not vibrant, wonderful communities is really doing a disservice to them. So, Bonnie and Adil are absolutely in favor of things like fourplexes, which would, you could take existing homes and convert them, or you could build a home that has 4 units, and that would be that missing middle housing that we so desperately need. The other thing that I've been doing is talking about the new transit-oriented community in Thorncliffe Park. So the proposal came out. We had not seen it. There are over 800 pages of documents on their website. So the planning seems fairly far along, and yet they cannot answer the question, how many of these units will be affordable? So I've been asking those questions and will continue to ask those questions because we want that project to benefit the people of this community.
So do you think if that project not like the Eglinton line, it's not like the metro line is under construction from, and in your constituency a lot of people are facing hurdle because of that, and there is another thing is coming is a science center. I will talk on that later on. But do you think this government is not projecting their policies as to the recorded target line? What is the flaw line, do you think?
Well, again, I think that they are focused on helping their rich friends. Developers don't maybe make as much money on affordable housing as they do on $1 million condos, and so they are removing rules and restrictions that allow those kind of units to be built, and yet not keeping in place rules that make sure that we have sufficient affordable units for residents. So I think that this government is really focused on projects, things like the 413 that will again make their rich developer friends richer. Some of the same friends who would have been made rich by the $8.3 billion Greenbelt scandal. The Therma Spa, there are friends of the premiers working there. That the government is giving a $500 million parking lot to Therma Spa to help them, justify the business case, right, for why they're doing this 95-year lease. Those are the kind of initiatives that don't actually think about the people of Ontario. They are opportunities. Friends of the government can come to the premier or to his ministers and say, hey, what about this? That would really we'd make a lot of money from that, right? And yes, there might be some benefit to the economy or to the community, but that doesn't appear to be the focus, right? The focus is, look, how can we find opportunities to again make our friends richer?
Is it in your mind when you take over the Ontario, there is need to new legislation to bar these things in the future?
That's a good question. I think that transparency and trust is something that you have to have in your government, and I think people are, if even people who might have voted for this premier are losing trust in his ability to do the right thing for the people of Ontario. So I think that you can have laws on the books around how contracts are negotiated. This premier doesn't seem to want to follow kind of good governance processes. So, for example, giving sole source contracts to companies like Staples. That's not a good business practice, right? In a business, or he likes to talk a lot about his experience in business. You would not do a sole source. You would have a few bidders and take the best bid. So I think that there could be laws, but I think at the end of the day, you have to have people who you trust and believe are accountable and doing the right thing for the right reasons.
Let's talk about the local businesses. That's very important matter for the residents. Do you think you need to work on this line? There is less work?
Do you mean the Eglinton line?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, this has been a long time coming, as we know. We've just recently heard that it will be opening in about 3 months, so that is good news. I think certainly businesses have suffered through the construction of this. Residents have suffered. I think there needs to be more open discussion and dialogue with residents about what's really going on, and with the local businesses, because they know they're going to be impacted. So what is the right thing to do to make them whole? We've certainly seen in Thorncliffe Park some of the businesses there who are leasing from a landlord. They didn't get the same kind of notification about the impacts of the new transit-oriented community or the Ontario line to their business. So I think there are things, again, that I've been certainly saying to Metrolinx and Infrastructure Ontario. We need to make sure that not just the landlords, the owners, but also the tenants are communicated to, because they are small businesses, and their businesses are being impacted.
Are you going to table any motion regarding the provincial taxes reduced for the local businesses?
Yeah, so we're looking at some things around. We've put forward some things around non-refundable tax credits. We will be doing more of those. One of my colleagues, Stephen Blay, put forward one about fitness and sports credit for families. So again, I know that parents want to make sure their kids still have the opportunity for recreation and building their skills and confidence. So we will see. Those are the kind of things we're looking at. There's a restriction around private members' bills that they can't be what they call a money bill. So there are restrictions around what we can do. I'm also looking at putting forward a bill around tenants' rights, and just trying to make sure that it's clear the obligations that are clearer, the obligations that landlords have to their tenants, and how tenants can better protect themselves. So more to come on that topic.
I'm just taking opportunity to sitting with you because there's residents who love the cricket. They need a one cricket ground.
Yes, that's a very good point. So again, one of the things that I said to Infrastructure Ontario recently, when I asked to meet with them to talk about the new transit-oriented community, and said, look, this community has been talking for years about the need for more recreation facilities, and this is the time to think about those things as we look at building this new transit-oriented community. There has to be some community benefits. I believe those benefits need to go beyond just jobs. Jobs are very important as well, to make sure we're employing local residents. But beyond that, what will be the lasting legacy for the community, not just the owners or the residents of a new high rise. So certainly that is something that I'm in favor of, and looking to make sure that we have those conversations at a minimum with Infrastructure Ontario.
When we talk about just small background of a recreational center in a Thorncliffe Park, Jean Mary.
Right, yeah.
This is small place, and from last 10 years there is a plan in the city council, but that put off because of high price of the buildings they cannot buy. But these people still need the recreational centers anywhere in the locality. So are you going to do something from the
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, in the same vein, I've been talking about how do we increase the recreational space. The other thing that the government took away when they were elected in 2018 was a portion of a pool of funding that helped schools operate at a subsidized cost for local community groups. So they took that money away, and what that meant was that community groups who wanted to use the school had to find that money. Now, some were able to do that, but some weren't. So again, those are the kind of things that don't build up our community, they can tear it down. So restoring those kinds of fundings are also something that this budget could have and should have done.
I'm not talking about the field hockey, but I will talk about Ontario Science Centre.
Okay, yes.
So you are a big supporter, definitely,
Yes, yeah.
for this place. Do you think it will become some fruitful things?
Well, again, we continue to press this government to talk about why are they moving it? What is the real reason they're moving it? They came up with a bit of a a business case that was not very sound, and it's been criticized by the Auditor General, an independent body. So it really does beg the question: why are they doing this? The fact that the building needs some upgrade and renovation is not in and of itself a reason to move it. So again, we believe the reason that they're moving it is to help the spa, right? To support the business of the spa. And that's the wrong reason. That's not good for our community. As I've said, the Science Center belongs on the Don Valley. That's where it was built. It was built for that spot, and it needs to stay there. We're not looking at moving the ROM. We're not looking at moving the AGO. We upgrade them. I said that it would be kind of like the City of Toronto telling the residents of Etobicoke that they're going to move the Rob Ford Stadium to Scarborough. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll keep digging. We'll keep digging to try to find the real reason and to try to stop the move, because we want the Science Center to remain where it is as a vibrant part of our community.
What's your final take on when you are going to, because this is the Catherine Wine's constituency and you are taking over this, and there should be definitely 2 or 3 goals in your mind as a representative of this constituency in the Queen's Park. Have you achieved or still need to work?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think one of the things that I said that I wanted to try to do was to continue to build networks among the community with other groups who can offer employment opportunities. So I said, look, I like to network. I like to connect people. So one of the things I'm trying to do is make sure that residents here, especially people who are new and might not know how to navigate the job system and employment, large companies, and navigate the systems there, to support them through informal networking and offering some support from volunteers who are saying, hey, I can help you with your resume or those kinds of things. So that's something I'm thinking about. Again, I talked about tenants and the obligations, making sure that landlords are fulfilling their obligations to tenants, and that tenants fulfill their obligations to each other, because that's part of the community too. And the third thing I would talk about is diversity. My first private members bill was about diversity on corporate boards, and that's because I really truly believe that having diverse voices at the table makes better decisions. It's been proven. So I'm continuing to talk to stakeholders and groups across the riding when I'm thinking about what's important for people here. What are the issues I need to bring to Queen's Park in the very few question opportunities that I get from this government, and to make sure that their voices are being heard.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I hope so. You enjoy just a final thing. What's your message to the young nation, especially to attract to the work and do a local business?
So that again.
The inflation is going up,
Yes.
and there is need, as a banker,
Yes.
you are working and as a member of a standing committee, you have learned some facts and figures. These are those things which are not helping for the improvements.
Right. Well, again, we had talked. I wrote a letter to the Minister of Finance with some recommendations. One of those recommendations was, again, to reduce the provincial portion of interest on student loans. They did not take that recommendation. I made a recommendation that we increase the child benefit for families to an extra $50 per month, which would help alleviate the cost of groceries, the higher cost of groceries. So there are things that we could have done, this government could have done, to help families, and I will continue to do what I can to try to help them see that those opportunities are there, and that they should be prioritizing those things.
So can I take the opportunity? Are you coming, if Bonnie is going to premiership for Ontario, are you taking the finance ministry?
That's a lot. We have to get through a lot of hurdles before we get to that stage. But certainly, finance is something that I'm interested in, and we're working hard to make sure that Bonnie wins the next election.
Thank you very much, and wish you best of luck
Thank
for
you so
this
much.
upcoming finance things.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much for joining us, and I will bring more on Queen's Park. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.